All right, joining me now, Steve Friend. Welcome to the Alec Lace Show.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. I wanted to start out with this. Yesterday, I was down at or I should say, Tuesday, I was down at the Pete Hegseth hearings for him to become Secretary of Defense, and all of the Navy SEALs had gathered, a lot of veterans to support him. One of the big concerns was the DEI and the wokeness that's infiltrated the military, and this has also infiltrated the FBI. So I know that they have, I know I've seen your post, they have 9 diversity advisory committees. Does it seem like the FBI, once Kash gets in there, are we finally going to get this out of the FBI as well?
Well, there's all efforts afoot right now to hide it, at least from him, because my moles on the inside have recently told me that an entire floor, which is occupied by DEI components for these 9 diversity advisory committees, which report directly to the FBI director outside the chain of command, I'll mention here. They have now reassigned those people to other places so that they can hide and avoid termination. And they're taking the signage down in the expectation that a Director Patel would walk the halls and say that's a problem, and the people that profligated it probably need to go.
Yeah, how much of a problem? How much of an impact is that? Is this as big of a problem in the FBI as we've seen it in the military? Is it having a big effect there as well?
It's an enormous problem, and it's beyond the DEI label that we have here. The FBI is all in on the 30 by 30 initiative. That's law enforcement nationwide. It's cultural Marxism, if you actually read into it. The stated goal is to get 30% female representation into management in law enforcement by 2030. But as I said, it's very Marxist. It says things like job knowledge tests are discriminatory. Physical fitness standards are discriminatory. They have to remove white culture from law enforcement. So it's very racist on its face. And then you look at the results that we've had. Now it's over 40% of the employees of the FBI have been hired under Christopher Wray. And Miranda Devine has published a piece about House investigations into the DEI, the fact that they are now bringing on people who are 50 pounds overweight and can't meet health standards. And I've just conversations with people that are still on the inside, give me things. They are telling me things that would shock the conscience of the American people. And I think it really just shows how people who have gotten brought in are all in on the ideology, or they're compromised. They know they really don't deserve that job, so they're just going to follow orders. It's all by design, and we've all suffered as a result of it.
Yeah, nobody wants to upset the apple cart. They got a good thing going, so why would they blow the whistle on themselves? But just to your point there, too, we're making this case with the LAFD, or the Los Angeles Fire Department, where you had this woman in a clip, which I thought originally was a Saturday Night Live skit, where she says that, people want people to come rescue them from a fire that look like them. And then she says that, if I can't carry you out of the building, you shouldn't have got yourself in the fire in the first place. And it almost sounded like it was a joke, but that's a real firefighter clip. And we're seeing that that's people that are being hired into the fire department, and we're seeing that at every level. Now we're seeing it with the FBI. It's almost as if like performance is the least thing that they're hiring on, and everything else is just about all this other stuff. It's like, can you get the job done? I mean, that's what we really want at every one of these departments.
The FBI actually in 2020, sometime around September, if you go back to the Wayback Machine, the FBI amended its core values. Rigorous obedience to the Constitution was it, right? You swear an oath to the Constitution. They now rank that as last on their core values, behind things like diversity. Now, when I stepped forward, I did not swear an oath to diversity. I did not even swear an oath to the agency, but shouldn't surprise anyone that when I was put for decision for all my chips by management in the FBI, when I came forward with some whistleblower disclosures, my manager said that I had an oath of office. Yes, but my true duty was to the agency, and I needed to do what I was told. Actually, set an example for my children and just follow orders. It's completely on its head at this point. I'm just hoping that a Kash Patel can get in there. I've been on record the last 2 years. I think the FBI probably needs to be shattered into 1,000 pieces, scattered to the wind. But if I'm going to give the old college try to anyone, it's that guy right there. I think he's eminently qualified. He's the sort of person that we need at the helm.
Yeah, let's get into him real quick, because Kash Patel is somebody. He was the one that the MAGA world was waiting for. He was the nominee. Everyone, Trump made us kind of wait for a while there for that one. But finally, we got the name Kash Patel. Everyone was excited. We all hope that what you said comes true, and Kash does. I mean, he's been on record saying that he's looking to, make that thing a freaking whatever he called it, a museum, deep state museum. So we're going to see a lot. We saw pushback with Pete Hegseth. We're going to see massive amounts of pushback on Kash Patel. What is the knock? What are they? I know they say, well, he didn't serve in the FBI. What is the key things they're going to? I know what Pete Hegg said. They try to hit him on drinking, his family relationships. What is it they're going to go after Kash Patel and try to knock him down out of this position?
They don't have very much other than he's been an advocate for Donald Trump for a number of years. So they'll probably just try to go with the orange Hitler is the bad, super bad, very bad person, and Kash Patel has associated with him. When I've had hit pieces or journalists reach out to me for their hit pieces to go after Kash Patel, they're actually pushing back on his charitable foundation, the Fight with Cash Foundation, which exists solely to support military and law enforcement whistleblowers in their time of need. So they don't have a whole lot. And I think if you're attacking from the political left here, you really have a difficult task, because now you have a person of color who comes and brings a law perspective from a defense attorney. He was a public defender before he was a prosecutor, and I think that makes him actually more desirable because he brings that unique perspective. He knows the power that's actually at the fingertips of an apparatus like the FBI. He has intelligence experience. He has counterterrorism experience. It makes him eminently qualified for it, unique perspective, and I think they're going to have a really difficult time actually landing a blow on the guy.
And well said, Stephen. I think that if we can get Kash in there, I have all the faith in the world. I've had Kash on this show maybe more than any other guest. I have all the faith in the world that he's going to do what he said. And it's really our last chance to get any kind of transparency and get the FBI going on the right path. Because if it doesn't happen now with Kash Patel at the helm, then we're lost. I mean, it'll never happen. So it's like, it's right now, it's Kash or nothing. And I really have the faith that he's going to do what he said when he gets in there. And we're going to see a complete, what do you want to call it, reimagination of the FBI.
Yeah, I think that if you're not going to do the demo, if you want to do a renovation, Kash Patel is the guy to do it. Look, for all the hits on him as being politically partisan, and that's so wholly inappropriate for an FBI director, give me a break. The last two guys, or the last three actually, you have James Comey, who not only let Hillary Clinton off the hook, but ordered agents to go and entrap Mike Flynn, and then also ordered an off-the-books honeypot scheme into the Trump campaign in 2016. Most people don't know about that. Then you had Andy McCabe, who was part of the Crossfire Hurricane entrapment schemes that went on there, where they tried to go Russia, Russia, Russia. And then flash forward to Christopher Wray, who under his leadership, the FBI withheld the Hunter Biden laptop from the public domain and actually stood by and influenced social media companies to censor the New York Post story about it. So it's hardly an impartial, nonpartisan position at this point. And I find the fact that Kash Patel wears his partisanship on his sleeve to be sort of refreshing. And really, what's his track record? He's rooted out the corruption of the FBI in the past. So all thumbs up here. I think that he's the guy for the time.
Yeah, right on with that. And then just to pick up on what you're saying with the social media aspect, we've had Mark Zuckerberg come out now and say that he was basically put at gunpoint here to censor people on his social media site. It wasn't my fault. It was everybody else's fault but mine. Joe Biden and his administration, they made me do it. They didn't make him donate, spend $400 million on the election to beat Trump. They didn't do that, but they made him do this stuff on. And I've had Kash Patel where he's said on this show, Mark Zuckerberg is a fraud. I don't care what he says. He's the biggest fraud in big business. So what is your take on this big revelation that Mark Zuckerberg came out with on the Joe Rogan show saying, hey, this is what happened, but it wasn't my fault?
Mistakes were made, but not by me, really. And look, his argument doesn't hold water. Even if you give him the maximum grace and say he was a victim of government weaponization, I'm sorry, Mark. You can have all the claims of being a stalwart for free speech and you want to push back against censorship. When you were weighed and measured, you were found wanting. You actually did censor information about coronavirus. You own the largest social media platform in the world. If you were actually the victim of weaponization, there was nothing stopping you from going on your platform and announcing that you were suffering from weaponization, but you didn't. He's an opportunist. He always has been. He's a communist. He just is putting his finger in the air and seeing where the winds are, and he's hoping to get on the train now to avoid any sort of accountability.
Yeah, I agree. And if he would have stood up at the height of the pandemic or when the stuff was going on with the if he would have just stood up at that point, he would have been a hero for us. Like when people would have looked up and they're like, wow, this guy threw it all away because he stood up to do the right thing. He stood on his principles, but he didn't do that. He waited until the election is figured out. Now he's down at Mar-a-Lago. Now he's a free speech advocate. And it's a very, very tough pill to swallow. And I really have a problem with that. Let me go because I know I want to get you out of here soon. Christopher Wray on the way out. What is this guy's legacy going to be at the FBI when he leaves?
He oversaw an agency that not only withheld the Hunter Biden laptop and then later on used it to prosecute Hunter Biden. So I need you to square that circle. But they also told me as an agent that I need to do surveillance of parents at school board meetings. They weaponized the entire system to go after people for their First Amendment protected activity. The application of the FACE Act, 92% of prosecutions against pro-lifers, and they just couldn't get the firebombers of crisis pregnancy centers because it happened at nighttime. He's an embarrassment. His entire tenure at the FBI is a blight on our country, and I can only hope that Pam Bondi becomes Attorney General and actually has the hunger to go after guys like Christopher Wray and put them in an orange jumpsuit, which they wholly deserve.
Yeah, you think he gets? Do you think he gets one of the pardons from Biden on the way out the door, or no?
Unfortunately, I think that if those pardons are going to go out, he'll probably be chiefly among them. He'll go back to his white shoe law firm. He was making $9 million before he came in to the FBI. I think he'll probably be rewarded as a good and faithful servant because that's what the other side does. That's what the communists do. They punish their enemies and they reward their friends. And Christopher Wray is chief among their friends at this point.
Wow, sickening. All right, last thing I want to hit you with here, just because, I mean, this was the original reason why I had reached out to you a few weeks ago, was when this attack had happened, or the Cybertruck exploded in front of Trump Tower. We had the Matt Livelsberger. Everything kind of unraveled. We had the story going in all different directions. And the latest thing we've had is his current wife coming out to kind of set the record straight, saying that, hey, we were in love. This was our kid. She was just as shocked by it as everybody else. So where do you stand here? What's the latest that you have on this Matt Livelsberger? Do we trust the FBI in what they're saying, that the letter is legit, it's from him? I mean, what's your take on what we know now?
The letter is legit. It is from him. The facts that are in it have to be verified one way or another. I know that it's legit because I've seen it myself. I was actually part of the people that got it there. Now, as far as his experience, I was a local law enforcement officer before I was an FBI agent. To me, without knowing anything, being on the outside, this actually does have the hallmarks of somebody who is going through some sort of emotional disturbance, who was highly trained. If he wanted to inflict maximum carnage, he wouldn't have done what he did. I think he wanted to send a message for whatever the demons were going on between his ears here. He was looking back at the drones that were going on. I think if this happens a year and a half earlier, maybe he's going to be talking about the Chinese spy balloon. To me, until I see further information indicating anything otherwise, I think it really is just a tragic story of someone going through an emotional break.
Yeah, it does seem like it's pointing in that direction. And it's just odd, too, because at the very beginning, I was very highly skeptical of the FBI saying that the two incidents weren't related, just because of the fact that both of these guys served. They were in the same business, base. They used that whatever that app is, Turo, to rent cars. And I was like, it almost seemed like, man, this had to be connected. Too many coincidences here. Right now, it seems most likely that they had nothing to do with one another.
It does. And look, that's because the FBI has lost the trust of the American people because it has behaved in such an abhorrent fashion, particularly over the last 4 years during the Biden administration. That falls solely at the feet of the FBI. They had an oath in office. They had a prime directive to follow the Constitution, make due process its goal. That is victory, not getting the win at trial, which is what they did to people on January 6th, misdemeanors. They put them in prison. And now, as a result of that, they're on the cutting room floor, because if Kash Patel is unable to turn around, I think that they're going to be shattered and scattered.
Yeah, great points. Steve Friend, I'd love to have you back on the line once we get Kash Patel in there to kind of follow up, see what direction we're headed in. I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time today on the Alec Lace Show.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.